For our summer reading project, we chose to read And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. Our group members are Trad,
Chris,
Carleigh,
Jonathan.
Anthony Marston's character trait is aggressive. He said, "Now then, you swine," on page 55. Ethel Rogers' character trait is frightened. She looks frightened of her own shadow, said by Vera Claythorne on page 29. John MacArthur's character trait is negative. "It's not much good denying it now, not when we're all going to die," on page 117. Thomas Rogers' character trait is respectful. He was a tall, lank man, gray-haired, and very respectable. He said, "Will you come this way, please?" on page 27. Emily Brent's character trait is collected. "You're wonderfully calm, Miss Brent, and I was brought up to keep my head, never to make a fuss." Page 175. Lawrence Wargrave's character trait is laid back, nodding his head and gentle, on page 3. Dr. Armstrong's character trait is greedy. I kept a couple of grateful women patients, women with money and position, on page 11. Bloor's character trait is nervous. He stood up and scrutinized, on page 14. Lombard's character trait is judgmental, summing up the girl opposite, on page 5. Vera Claythorne's character trait is guilty. Suddenly, in spite of the heat and the carrot, she shivered and wished that she was not going to the sea, on page 4.
This book took place on Indian Island off the coast of Sticklehaven, Devon. All the murders took place around or in the mansion that all the guests were staying in. The theme was when you do things wrong, you are going to eventually get punished. This is shown when he says, "It is abhorrent to me that an innocent person or creature should suffer or die by any act of mine. I have always felt strongly that right should prevail."
10 people are invited to Indian Island, which was in the news a lot with rumors of certain people buying the island. The only people on the island were Anthony Marston, Ethel Rogers, John MacArthur, Thomas Rogers, Emily Brent, Lawrence Wargrave, Dr. Armstrong, Bloor, Lombard, and Vera Claythorne. One of the guests is killing all the guests, one by one. The book's time period is around the 1940s. The island has a mansion on it which the victims are living in and is over a mile away from any other land.
The rising action. Continued.
Climax. Vera, Claythorne, and Lombard were the only two left on the island. Since Vera knew it was not her, Lombard had to be the killer. So she tricked him and pickpocketed his revolver and shot him. Vera then went in her room and hung herself.
Resolution. Lawrence Wargrave threw a note in a bottle into the ocean with the note saying he is the killer and how he performed each murder, and how he chose the murder victims.
Agatha's life and influences. Here we go.
Connections.
Figurative language. Metaphor. Yes, I believe now that I am in the same boat as the rest of you. Page 129. Metaphor. That 100 guineas was just Mr. Owen's little bit of cheese to get me into the trap along with the rest of you. Page 129. Onomatopoeia. The assistant commissioners brought down his fist with a bang to the table. Page 254. Personification. So peacefully today, sometimes so cruel. The sea that dragged you down to its depths. Page 32.
Extra information. Swan song. Gramophone. The swan is mute. Guests are mute.
Just say bibliography.
Bibliography.